Why hello, my fairy tale things. Well, isn't this a surprise? I went to Target this morning to check out some of the new Marvel Legends that had released, and I was stunned when I turned the corner and saw the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie display with all of the toys fully stocked. I'll be honest, I teared up a little. I'm serious, because even though this is not my main fandom, Shrek obviously is, these are new Dreamworks toys on the shelf. And as someone that grew up with the Dreamworks movies and Shrek, it means a bunch, because my childhood movies growing up were Shark Tale, B-Movie, and How to Train Your Dragon, that first 2010 movie. That was the end of my Dreamworks youth. That was the last Dreamworks movie that I can recall seeing in theaters the day it opened and collecting all of the action figures. There was me and my sister playing with our Toothless, Hiccup, and Dragon figures. And yeah, it was just very surprising to see this back on the shelf. We knew it was coming. These toys were revealed some time ago. There's all sorts of amazing stuff they're doing. But I was surprised that this had such a presence on the aisle. I mean, they had everything. They had electronic figures, little blind boxes. So I decided to grab some stuff for the channel here because I thought you guys would really enjoy it. So I got the action figures, since that's kind of all bread and butter around here, is talking about action figures. But I was also very curious by these blind boxes, because you'll see they come in very adorable packaging that I was interested in. And then finally, I couldn't help myself. I had to grab the Toothless mask, because this is hysterical, and I want to try it on camera. I think it'll be really funny, a total hoot. So sit back, relax, go ahead and brew yourself a coffee, or just purchase it from 7-Eleven like I did, and enjoy as we take a look at the return of Dreamworks Dragons at retail. This is so exciting, because this is like the blueprint for the Shrek toys. I can already tell you that I can picture the Shrek toys on the shelf in a similar manner. And I would not be surprised if the shelf spot that these toys are being used for is not recycled for Shrek. I think Shrek 5 will have a similar toy line. I don't know if it's Spin Master doing the toys or not, but I think we'll have like the electronic mask, the action figures, and of course the obligatory blind boxes that all the kids seem to love these days. So yeah, this will kind of give us a preview of things to come. This is it. This is the comeback of Dreamworks at the toy aisle, and I just love seeing movies go all out with toys these days. It feels like more and more we're just seeing smaller lines. Like, I bought and reviewed the Dogman figures for the channel, but there wasn't a lot to talk about. There was the 4-inch figures, and then the larger 6-inch ones, and that was it. And I was only really interested in the larger, more articulated figures, but even though these seem to be a smaller scale, you'll notice Toothless is quite small here, the dragons are the focus. And if they were doing, 6-inch scale, which is all the rage these days, I'm with you guys, I love 6-inch scale, the dragons would have been huge and expensive. And the price points on these across the board were pretty good. I was shocked looking at the shelf. It was like $15 for the regular figures. The deluxe ones were not much more. They came in like these big boxes with electronic features. There was even like a $12 Toothless that's like a big hollow piece of foam that you're supposed to like throw across your backyard, and like he supposedly flies. Like, it's basically a foam airplane, like a paper airplane. And yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. So, but today we're going to be looking at these figures. But first, before we check out the action figures, I have to open the mask, because like, look at this thing. It's absolutely hysterical. Now, I do want to compliment the packaging design and also give some criticism where it's due. Now, from a design perspective, it's really good. You'll see the colors are perfect, the logo's there, and we have big, beautiful graphics of the movie with the characters present. And then the back here advertising the smoke-breathing action. Yeah, apparently Toothless can breathe some fire here. I can't wait to see what that looks like in person. I was very curious by that in the store. I'm like, is that safe? Is that something that works? I'm gonna buy and find out. But one criticism I do have, you'll notice, across all of these toys, they are all open packaging, the whole line, and I'm concerned that these toys may get damaged on the shelf, especially with the figures. I'll talk about it, but the mask here, you know, it's pretty sturdy. I think it'll be fine, but enough procrastinating. I must become one with the Night Fury. I must be Toothless. Here we go. Alright, so that was relatively painless to open. You get some pieces here, as well as this little dropper, and this is what's going to allow us to breathe the smoke. So we have an instruction manual here that will guide us through on how to do this. Alright, looks simple enough. This is going to be such a satisfying click. Yeah, that was satisfying. And of course the side. There we go. So first we gotta get some cold water here. And are you guys ready for the plot twist of the century? This thing already has the AA batteries installed in it. I have not seen a modern toy for 30 bucks that has the batteries already in it. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's get to the real exciting part. We have this dropper here, and I'm gonna take the cold water. Now you have to use this dropper. It says do not put Toothless under faucet. I don't think you should do that with the Real Dragon either. It probably won't like that. Alright. I bet you didn't know that every Night Fury has a removable scale right on their forehead. You have to remember to water your Night Fury, you know, once every day, so it can grow into a big, healthy Night Fury. Okay, moment of truth, guys. Will it dispense smoke? Oh my god, it really is. Look at that! I am one with the Night Fury, flying free as a dragon. My life is now complete. I'm a fire-breathing dragon. The channel only goes downhill from here, folks. This is it. This is peak. Wow. Wow. Imagine I show up to the theater like this. One ticket to How to Train Your Dragon, please. Thank you. Oh my god. Wow. Well, I'm officially a changed man. There's pre-Toothless sauce in the brimstone, and there's the post-Toothless era. Oh my god, look at this thing. It's amazing. But seriously, the way it breathes smoke is so impressive. Like, I tried my best to capture it on camera. It just looks absolutely epic. But this thing's got its batteries pre-installed on it. So 30 bucks, the batteries come with it, and the smoke effect is really cool. And yes, it does fit adults if you're curious. So if you want to be a sad man-child like I am, running around as a dragon, then you can fulfill your destiny and become one with the dragons. I certainly am, you know, really tapping into my inner furry here. Oh my god, or like, fursuit people gonna take these and turn them into like crazy dragon sonas? That would actually be really cool to see. Like if you could pop out the eyes, put in some custom ones, maybe put some flames on this thing, make it look pretty cool. But it certainly is a good base for like a really nice professional costume head. Like, the visibility is great. Like, I can see, you know, like this, you know? I could do a convention in this. But you know what I can't do in this is the rest of the video. Seriously, I was going to open up these toys in this costume, but the more I think about it now, especially since my glasses don't fit under there, it's going to be much better to do it to the traditional way, where I flip the camera around and we just look at these action figures up close. But yeah, this mask, it's friggin' awesome. I love it. It's a 10 out of 10. Go buy it. I'm not sponsored by Dreamworks. I've just sold a small part of my soul to Jeffrey Katzenberg, that's all. Please, if you're watching Spin Master, I hope you guys get the Shrek license. I would die to see a Shrek in this style. A Shrek mask like this would be the stuff of dreams for me. Please, please make that happen. I want it so badly, but as it is, the Toothless mask, you know, for someone called Toothless, you know, you get a lot of teeth in there. They're not retractable like the movie, but it's really cute. The sculpting work on this is phenomenal. It's awesome. All right, so that's enough raving about the mask. We're actually going to look at the figures now. Okay, so there's a lot to cover here. Where do I even begin? We got some minis, but you know what? I want to start with the big boys here, the action figures. I got two. I got the Gronkle here because the Gronkle was my favorite from the classic How to Train Your Dragon movies. He was one that I loved the McDonald's toy of, and I tracked down the big one when I was a kid, so I have a lot of nostalgia just looking at this guy. And then I had to get Toothless and Hiccup. Now, they made all of the other dragons with their riders, but they didn't have any of those when I was at the store. They just had the Toothless and Hiccup set, and then the basic dragons, which is honestly a good thing. I don't know if anyone can remember the classic line by Spin Master, but Toothless or Night Fury, which is like Toothless, but with the tail still, those were very tough figures to get back in the day. And those figures were exclusive to Walmart. The whole toy line was. And I remember my sister really wanting a Toothless figure, and we couldn't find it. All we saw were just pegs and pegs of Gronkles, as sad and amazing as that is. But yeah, it's great to see a shelf just filled with tons of Toothless. The Toothless is available for those that want him. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I kind of have a big complaint with these toys already. Do forgive me, Spin Master, but the open packaging here, I'm just not feeling it. These originally came on nice, beautiful big blisters, and now they've kind of gone with this open trend, which is not a good idea, because you'll notice it sells the real feel dragon rings as a big part of the toy, and these are made of rubber. Now, it is very, tactile and nice to feel, Kids today that love all, the fidget toys will really enjoy just, feeling the wings here. It does really feel like a dragon, but these things are going to get so destroyed on the toy shelves. I can already picture tons of these with the wings ripped right off. It feels so fragile. And then going to Hiccup here, the faces on these Hiccups, I looked at my store and they were all pretty, thrashed about already. I don't know if it was just the initial paint applied to them was bad, or maybe they hit a lot of stuff on their way to the US, but they were looking pretty rough. The other two Hiccups were almost unbuyable, so I really did some digging here to find one with a half-decent face sculpt. And yeah, it's nothing amazing. This is not the most detailed figure, but he does have a surprising amount of articulation, more than the classic line. And one thing I do like is that Spin Master, right, this is Spin Master, right? I hope, yes, okay, it is Spin Master, thank God. Wow, seeing that Dreamworks logo on a modern toy is crazy. They are continuing the original format of these toys. These are fully compatible with the classic toy lines for the first 3 movies, and that is just really cool for longtime collectors. Now, I don't have any of my original How to Train Your Dragon toys, unfortunately, so you won't be getting any direct comparisons, but just know these look across the board very compatible. And as someone that doesn't have the toys anymore, the original ones are quite collectible and expensive on the secondary market. They're really tough to get. I've tried to get some for the channel, but yeah, those prices can be rough. But what's great is these dragons, they're not super different from the classic designs. They look a lot like the classic Chris Sanders film. You have that Chris Sanders design. He looks so Stitch-like in the face. There's no doubt that that's a Chris Sanders design. And if you wanted to, you could probably just collect a set of the movie live-action dragons and maybe mix in the animated humans, because I believe the humans are a lot easier to get than the dragons when it comes to collecting this line. Now, Gronkle here, does he have the real feel? He doesn't. No, this is just hard plastic. So Gronkle here is going to fare a lot better than the shelf. And look at him. Look at that happy open mouth. Unfortunately, it's not jointed. The original one could talk, and I love to make him talk. I know the dragons don't talk in the movies, but when I played with these in my storylines with my sister, we always made the dragons talk, and they were these big goofy guys that were they were all brawn but no brain, and the Vikings were always trying to keep these guys in line. I remember when my Gronkle just wanted to eat all the Vikings. He was like, I want to eat all the Vikings, and I made my little nebbish Hiccup in my best impression go, no, you don't want to, eat all the humans, which was probably a much better impression back in the day with my crackly puberty voice. But now I'm a grown man, and I can't really sound like Hiccup. But here I am, a grown man buying dragon toys. So there's the packaging, Design work, by the way, is great. If we ignore the fact that they're open box, the actual card back, I mean, look at that beautiful design work with the steel. I'll be honest, I've been playing a lot of Skyrim lately with everyone talking about the Oblivion re-release that came out, and I've gotten really deep into Skyrim, fully maxing out a character, doing all the side quests. So I'm really feeling this Ren Fair aesthetic. And if you've watched the channel for a long time, I go to Ren Fairs and fantasy stuff, and I really like this aesthetic. That's why I love Shrek so much. Shrek is that aesthetic. And dragons is aesthetically, the closest thing to Shrek that isn't Shrek. You've got all the Viking culture and myth. It's just really cool. So here's some of the other ones in the line, by the way. And then Gronkle, you'll see those are the other dragons. Now, at the store they had the other two here, the Skrill and the Romblehorn, but they didn't have Toothless. And I think that figure is, like, almost incorrectly labeled. That should be Night Fury, right? Because that's Toothless before he's tamed, which would technically just be Night Fury. I believe the original line actually labeled that correctly. Because I remember as a kid seeing the Night Fury figure on the shelf and being like, well, why isn't he called Toothless? Well, because he's not tamed yet. He doesn't have the tail. It's not Toothless. That's Night Fury. But what do I know? You know, those are the really small details. And I just want to do one more comparison before we open them. And you know what? The Gronkle that comes with fish legs, look at that. He has a jointed jaw, so he can talk like the old toy did. Okay, I'm going to have to track that down now. I also want a fish legs figure, so yeah, you know, I'm falling into the dragon trap, but let's actually check out if these figures are worth it. Okay, so credit due where credit is due. These things just fell, like, right out of the packaging, and they don't have any accessories, so they just popped right out. Definitely the easiest toys I've opened in some time. First, let's look at Hiccup here. Now, I was pretty rough on this figure at first, and yeah, that head sculpt is not exactly perfect, but the detail on the costume is admittedly very nice. He's got all his kind of, like, you know, Viking gear there. The costume's got a lot of weathering, but you'll notice his leg is, like, it's falling off, and I can't get it to stay on for the life of me. It's like it pops out so easily. So, you know, the joints on these aren't exactly, as solid as you would expect them to be. So, you know, if you are gonna, like, play and display with these, just be warned. You know, they're a little fragile, they're a little rickety, and they're very small. Now, the human is not the be-all, end-all, you know. Hiccup is obviously an important part of the movie, but I know with collectors of these toys, it's a lot like Jurassic Park, where all of the humans are really secondary accessories to the dragons, and the dragons are like the real stars, and that's where this line's interesting scale comes to mind, because if you'll allow me for a moment, I do want to compare this guy with some previous DreamWorks figures. Most of the DreamWorks figures they've done over the years are 6-inch scale, like Shrek and Megamind here. And the dragons, they're tiny. They're very tiny. But it does allow you to have, you know, Toothless and allow you to really build out the dragon army for a cheaper price. You know, would I have liked to have seen a 6-inch scale Toothless that's ultra articulated and super huge? Yeah, of course I would. Adult collectors would love that, but this is a kids line first and foremost. Definitely aimed towards kids. You know, this is like something aimed at my generation to buy for their kids. How crazy is that, right? Like, we're getting old enough now that, you know, some of you out there that saw this movie now have kids of your own. They're going to introduce How to Train Your Dragon to them with. Where do you stand on the whole live-action remake thing? I'm so conflicted, you know? A lot of the times they just kind of seem like cash grabs to sell toys of the old merch. But this one I'm feeling a little different on, and I'll tell you why. Usually with Disney, they just create those live-action remakes to sell merchandise of the older films. Like, you know, when that Lion King movie came out last Christmas, I didn't see any toys or merchandise specific to that Mufasa movie. It was all classic stuff. I went to Downtown Disney, and it was all classic. Like, oh, this is just to keep the brand fresh. But I gotta commend DreamWorks for actually committing to these kind of freaky-looking live-action designs and giving us, you know, toys based off of them. Gronkle here is very solid. You know, the wings are ball-jointed. You've got swivels in the legs here. It's about what you'd expect from a classic Jurassic Park dinosaur. You know, you're not getting anything fancy like the modern Jurassic Park toys. Think more like the vintage kennel stuff or even the Jurassic World stuff that Hasbro did. But it's sturdy, I'll give you that. You know, you could really give this to a kid and they could really play with it. He's almost like a bobblehead. Look at that head. It is a bobblehead. Look at that, we got a bobbling Gronkle. I don't know, this is kind of fun. I kind of love it. I would have loved like a little orange translucent blast effect to put in there. You know, maybe you could find something in your own accessory bin to stick in there that'll make it extra cool. But I'm sure I've got something lying around that'll look awesome. But yeah, I don't know, it's a nice solid figure. You know, it's a wild Gronkle, so it doesn't have a saddle like the other release would. But I still want to see if Hiccup can ride the Gronkle. There we go, we've got Hiccup now taming the Gronkle. It's kind of unfortunate they went with that rubber for the bottom piece of the tunic there, so that's always going to stick out when he's sitting, but, you know, what are you going to do? They were given a pretty complicated costume design, and I think they did a good job of working that into such a small and cheap format. I mean, $15 for a dragon and a rider, you can't beat that. That's amazing. That's cheaper than, like, a Marvel Legend. That's crazy. Okay, here's Toothless, the real star of the show. And yeah, this guy is big. This is a long figure. They really did not cheap out on that tail. And it's actually a separate piece I put on here. It just kind of easily pops off like that. But yeah, I mean, what more could you ask for? Or maybe a hinge joint, you know, in the tail would have been nice. The whole thing's kind of made of this rubber. And, you know, it would have been great to have the, you know, appendage that Hiccup builds here be a separate hard plastic piece with a nice hinge. But when you have stuff like that, you know, price point is going way up. And with a figure like this, I mean, again, $15, you're not going to beat this, you know? You don't get all the articulation in the world, but I feel like we're at a point now in toy collecting where we've become so obsessed with articulation and detail that the action figure prices have just gotten crazy. So it's pretty cool to see a $15 figure that, you know, doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it certainly gets the job done. Like, this is a great Toothless, and you don't have to pay those expensive aftermarket prices on the classic toys. Like I said, even if you don't care for the live-action remake, this figure is everything you wanted and more from a Toothless figure. You know, it looks really good. So, yeah, that is solid. So, let's put Hiccup on Toothless here, since that's what the whole point is. Alright, so check this out. You'll notice there's these two pegs on the saddle sculpted there, and Hiccup has these two little holes that perfectly fit into the legs here. Oh no, this is quite cursed, isn't it? This is what happens when Hiccup gets borned by a deadly Nadler when he's riding through the air. Oh my god. Yeah, those legs, man, they're a little tricky. They don't want to stay on. Okay, it took a little finagling, but he actually did click on there. And let's take this guy for a little test flight in the Shrek collection here. Alright, let's go across. Alright. Do a barrel roll. Oh, look at that. Wow. That's pretty impressive. You know, the legs don't stay on the figure that well, but he certainly stays on the Toothless pretty well. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, you could go crazy if you wanted to, like, hang these from your ceiling, like, flying in crazy positions. You know, get creative with these toys. I would love to see, like, some Isle of Book displays, you know. I don't have the space to dedicate Isle of Book. I'm too into my Shrek land here. But I commend Dreamworks and Spin Master for making a very fun toy here. So, yeah, I like the basic figures. They're good. They're really good. Let's fly right on to the blind boxes here. Oh, and I got a canister and a book. Where do you want to start with? I choose the canister because I like its container. I didn't even know what's in this one. I just bought it because I thought this plastic container was so unbelievably cool. Again, I've been playing a lot of Skyrim, and this just looks like something I would have to search to find items in. Very fantasy looking, you know, very Ren Fair inspired. But let's check out what is inside this thing. It's a mystery to both you and me. You know, I knew there was going to be blind box something, because that's like all the rage these days. Everyone loves blind box, and you know they make little TikToks. And I thought about saving this for a YouTube short, but no, I want to do it in the regular video, because I wanted to at least tackle like one of every basic product in this line. So let's get the tape off of there and find out what's inside. There we go. Okay, moment of truth. We're gonna hatch a dragon. Oh my god, I got Toothless! Oh, that's freaking adorable. Look at that. Wow. Okay, it's a plush. This is news to me. I should have looked at the old footage I recorded. I would have known that it was a plush. And I got a little Toothless. He's a little chibi. He looks like all those little plush things that people on the Instagrams like these days. Labubu, he looks like one of the Labubus, but has a Toothless. That's really cute. Oh man, they're gonna give Stitch a run for his money. You know, how weird is it that there are 2 live-action remakes of Chris Sanders movies coming out this month? That can't be a coincidence. That is a classic, like, Dreamworks, you know, Ants Bugs Life thing going on. Someone let the other side know what the deal was, and they both timed those movies that way. There is no way that's a coincidence. But yeah, you know, there's a little Toothless. You probably won't get a Toothless, because, let's be honest, that was a 1 in a million right there. I thought it was going to be some rando little plastic dragon, but no, it's a little Toothless in a little container. That's really cute. And by the way, this was cheap. This was only like $6. You know what this thing would cost you at Universal Studios? A whole lot more, my friend, a whole lot more. We may not have Epic Universe where I live, but dang it, we have Target. And Target is going to bring the Epic Universe to us. Okay, This is the How to Train Your Dragon World of Book. I've lost my mind. World of Book. Book of Dragons. Okay, interesting. It's a little book, and it looks like it's got a little, like, micro machine. Oh, yeah, here we go. There's 10 to collect, so this is kind of like a value item. This is almost like the shut-up toy of the line, where if a kid on an aisle is having a fit that his parents are not going to buy him a $10, $15 Toothless figure, they're like, oh, look at this. You know, this is only $5. And, yeah, I keep saying this, but I got to commend Spin Master for, like, price point here. So many toy lines these days, it feels like everything's expensive and there's no cheap toys. But this one understood that you need to have the cheap toys and the pricier toys. Okay, so I have a card here, and the card is for the Skrill. And oh, you know what? That's got to be what's in here. There's got to be a Skrill in here. And you have these little stats. There you go, some How to Train Your Dragon lore. Let me know if you're a lore expert. Are these stats accurate? I would assume they are. There's a lot of lore with the How to Train Your Dragon series, but I don't have enough room in my head for it all. I'm too busy remembering all the dumb Shrek details. Oh, he's like a little model kit. Look at this. We're going to build this guy. Okay, here we go. He looks simple enough. Ooh, there's a lot of detail for a toy this tiny. Okay. All right, and then let's see if we can get this. We have one wing here, right? And then the other wing. No, that's backwards. I'm not quite good at this stuff. Who remembers the painful Shrek model kit video? Oh my god. Yeah, I like my toys assembled already. Okay, gonna be frank with you all, that was not easy to assemble. That really did take some pushing in. I feel like I was gonna break the toy, but there he is. There is our Skrill. It's a nice detailed little figure. And you get this book here. And there's the exterior of the book. And then it opens up, and I guess you get a little backdrop here. So this card, the backside of it is gonna become our backdrop, and there we go. And then we have a little stand here, and it's gonna go like that, right? And there you have it. There's your little kind of desk dragon. I don't know what a kid's gonna do with this. It would have been cool to have like a little micro machine book playset with all the humans, but since the main figure line is already doing a smaller scale than what most of the industry is doing with dragons, I guess they just figured, you know, they would leave it to the littles. Oh, I'll be honest, I did not care much for the little book figure, but that's okay because I love my basic figures, and I really love my little Toothless here. He is so, so adorable. So those are the blind box toys. You know, they're cheap. I got no complaints, really, because how can you complain with that price point? Your Starbucks drink costs more than these toys, people. Okay, so there we have it, the modern How to Train Your Dragon movie toys for the live-action remake. Let me know in the comments, will you be picking up some of these toys? My personal takeaway, I'll be honest, I'm just really happy to see new Dreamworks toys on the shelf. And if this is the blueprint for a Shrek toy line, then I will be the happiest man alive. You know, you couldn't really be happy with what you get here. You get some really nice basic figures. The Toothless role-playing mask is a home run. I really love this thing. The blind boxed minis, they're a little forgettable, but, you know, they do exactly what they need to do. I'm sure kids would get a kick out of building the little dragons. And again, maybe they're fun to, like, film for little TikToks. I wouldn't know. I just review action figures, and as an action figure guy, I was very impressed by the regular basic figures. I think for $15, you know, you're getting a lot there. Heck, the human list versions, I forgot to mention, those were even cheaper. Those were like $10 for that Grunkle, and that's a pretty good deal, you know? You can't pass up a Grunkle. And the plush one pleasantly surprised me. I thought the plush Toothless was really cute. I even love the little container he came in. So across the board, for the prices they're asking here, it's a really good value toy line. And I love the commitment here. I love how much different product is available. There's a lot of stuff I didn't even talk about, and there seems to be some big plans for this line throughout the year. So I'll be very excited to see what Spin Master's cooking up. So just let me know, are you seeing the How to Train Your Dragon movie? Are you excited for all of the merchandise? I feel like with these Dreamworks movies, sometimes the merch launch can be more exciting than the film itself. Especially for me, as a toy guy, I just love seeing new toys on the shelf. And that's really where my joy came from, was just seeing new action figures. So, thanks for watching, and as always, have a happily ever after.